Misty came to us from an extreme hoarding situation in January of 2019. The homeowner's house was being foreclosed on, and multiple rescue groups were working diligently to find safe homes for all of the cats on the property. One dedicated volunteer was determined to help, and knowing that Misty was blind, they knew it would be a challenge to find her a forever home. So, they contacted BCR. We welcomed Misty with open arms, and when she arrived, we discovered that her only eye was severely enlarged from glaucoma, and she also needed some dental work. However, despite these health concerns, Misty was in surprisingly good shape overall. We are so appreciative of the caring volunteer who helped Misty find her forever home here with us. Their act of kindness saved Misty's life and gave her the chance to live in a safe and loving environment. We would also like to thank our amazing supporters for helping us provide a loving home where she is happy and healthy.
I think I was a little bit, not nervous. I think I was on guard because I was warned that she likes to give love bites. So I was anticipating it. And I think that kind of scared me a little bit because I hadn't even met her and I was just told that she can give love bites. So I was like, oh no, but she's actually a really sweet girl. I think I really started connecting with Misty when I had started doing noon tours on Facebook. I felt like that was like our bonding moments. She was always outside. She loves to be outside on her back, like with her paws up. She's just exposing her belly. But I feel like that's when we really got to know each other. She still gives love bites, but I feel like once she gets to know you, she's less inclined to do it. So I think since I've known her for so long, coming up on I think 6 years, I feel like now that we know each other pretty well, she isn't as bitey. She doesn't do it to be mean. She came from a hoarding situation, so she doesn't really know how to play like a normal kitty. Over time and brushing her, she's become a lot more tolerable of it. Before she would bite the brush really hard and she wouldn't want to let it go. But she does enjoy being brushed and she doesn't pitch a fit or get really upset over it. I think my top favorite thing is kind of going back to our bonding moment is just about any time she is outside, you can find her on her back and she's got her tummy exposed and all that. I think that's my top favorite thing about Misty.
Yeah, we were here when Misty arrived, and I think she came from a hoarding situation, and she was in quarantine in a big crate, and there was a litter box in the crate, and she was jammed in between the litter box and the side of the crate facing backwards. She was so terrified, and of course she would be. So she just was back there and wasn't moving. But again, it took a few weeks, BCR magic, and then she was fine. She got over her fear and her uncertainty about what was going on, and she became Misty, the Misty that we know.
And when we talk about BCR magic, it's just that is a cat comes in and they're in the quarantine area and they get back from the vet and they're a little skittish or what have you. The staff will literally sit at the other side of the room and read a book out loud or just talk to them.
Or just sit there.
Or just sit there and play some soft music and not approach them, but bit by bit the cat gets more comfortable. Misty took quite a while, and then finally we got here one day and she was in the room and this is it. This is BCR magic.
Knowing her situation and where she came from, we're happy to help support her in this life, which is so much better. Yeah. So much healthier and better for her.
She was in the quarantine room for quite a while. And now, again, she first got here, we saw her, but we didn't go in the quarantine room. It was just staff. And then we came back a few weeks later and we were able to go in the room. And again, she would turn around, she was looking at us, but she wouldn't come up near us. And I just sat in the room. The fear was gone. She wasn't with her back to you and just she was actually showing you her face.
And I think she still had she may have had at least one or two eyes when she came, but they were in horrible shape. So I imagine when she got here, she was in a lot of pain, and that probably contributed to her fear and uncertainty. But once all that was taken care of, she was great.
Yeah. And then we came back the next time and she was in the room. It was wow, to see this terrified, then somewhat trusting to fully trusting. That was where, That's where it happened, right, Miss Misty?
And we love it that here, you know, cats, they just can develop their own personalities, you know, because they live in such a free environment, and they're encouraged to just be who they are, you know, which is great. We're not training them for anything or,
Right.
you know, getting them ready for anything. They're just themselves, and that's really a beautiful thing. When we came here, she had so many sponsors already.
Right.
And, you know, I would gladly sponsor her too, but I'm up to 3, so that's probably our limit. But yeah, I just love her anyway. I think, you know, she's a little feisty. You know, she has her limits on things, like how much people time she wants, and I respect that, you know. It's like Pixie, I don't think has any of those borders, but Misty does, and you know, that's probably a function of her background and where she came from, and that's totally fine. You know, I respect that she has her own set of rules.
Yep.
She's not afraid. She's loved and cared for, because that's not the cat that we met when we first came. You know, she was completely withdrawn. And
Totally withdrawn, and you know, it takes a lot of time where, you know, people might not understand is why it takes a cat 3 or 4 or 5 weeks or 2 months to get used to you all, because they really can't
trust that they're safe.
Right, and trust that they're safe. And wait a minute, I've got fresh food. I don't have to go scrounging around, and I've got a nice soft bed, and I can sleep where it's warm or it's cool and not be out on the front porch or under a deck.
You know, it's so calming just to be around a kitty who's, you know, relaxing and makes you relax too, which Lord knows we all need that.
Oh, I want that. I want that. Nom, 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 nom. Okay.